How the average American loses money annually, a lot of it, thousands of dollars, and most of it is thanks to their debt. One of the largest debts that Americans have is their mode of transportation, their vehicle. And I thought I'd look this up because I have been seeing a lot of clients around the $600 price range. Now, we are at a premium store here, so some of these vehicles are pretty expensive. Some very rarely, but some are well over $100,000. Some can even go up to $150,000 when you include taxes, fees, and any additional service contracts that they may want, or any additional add-ons such as a 5-in-1 deal for tires and dings, and that's optional, but some people want it, or gap insurance that's recommended, and there's a couple other products. So with that, there are a lot of people that are paying a lot of money. And with leases, the lease deals are no longer here, and people are easily paying over $1,000. I've seen people paying as much as $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, maybe even $1,500 per month. Not in addition to the insurance, to potential maintenance, that's wear and tear stuff that isn't covered by warranty, to premium gas, and this can easily add up to $2,000 for a younger driver. That's a lot of money. So Americans owe over $1.46 trillion in auto loan debt, which has been rising quite steadily. And when we take a look at the average auto loan amount, it's over $40,000. And it's interesting because we take a look at the FICO ranges, you can see that the highest for new vehicles is actually in the 601 to 660. Now, this is because of APRs as well, so take that into consideration. When we're taking a look at used vehicles, the highest is 661 to 780, so average to good to excellent credit scores. And when we go all the way up, average monthly payments by credit score range, you can see $677 for new vehicles for 601 to 660. Used vehicles, $507 for the 501 to 600. And then for leases, you can see that they're usually higher than used vehicles, of course, and for new vehicles, they're not too far apart. Now, for certain brands like ours, the premium brand, our leases are actually many times higher than new vehicles, but the highest lease is in the 601 to 660 range. And there's different tiers, so let's say every 20, 30 FICO points, there's a different tier. I mean, technically it goes in more, but it's every 50 points, but every 20 to 30, there's different percentages. Annual changes, new vehicles from 2020 to 2021 can see a pretty large difference, especially for used vehicles, almost 18.2% for a lot of the averages. Average U.S. car payments increased year over year by double digits. So again, 18.2 for the used is the craziest. On average, Americans took out more than $60 billion in new auto loans each month. Americans are taking many more years to pay back their auto loans, sometimes even 84 or 96 months. The average auto loan term is 69.7. I took 60. I have an auto payment of $318.42, and the average is well above the 600s. Borrowers with prime credit scores are responsible for the majority of retail vehicle financing, so 661 or higher. So as you see, the average car payment is $644, up 11.8%. And used cars still have the lowest average monthly payments at $488. So that's still a very large number for the average American. $644, that's huge. So $644 is definitely quite a lot, especially with the average vehicle costing more than this car. Pretty crazy. Terrible weather. So the average American, behind student loans and mortgages, car debt is some of the largest out there. Now, this isn't a bad thing. I think car loans are actually a good thing, because when you take a look at, for example, Europe, where you still need a car, and especially here, where you need a car because the distances are greater, there's less public transportation, and the public transportation that does exist, it's not that great. You still have to take a look at it this way. In Poland, for example, there was a lot of cars that were 15, 20, sometimes even 30 years old on the street, and you had to buy a car for cash unless you were a business or you were making a pretty good salary. And even in that case, there's no credit score, so you're not going to get as large of a loan as you are and as easily as you are as an American. Now, there are some downsides, of course, to it. If you don't know how to handle your credit score, and you eventually abuse your credit or make some mistakes and destroy your credit score, then yeah, it does take many years to rebuild, and sometimes there are some small flukes with credit. By the way, an update. So the 52 points that I lost, well, it's been updated yet again. So now it went up 57, so it actually went up some points. So woo! I'm rebuilding my credit, and that was quite a scare. So for a couple days, my credit score went down massively, but looks like that's done. So some good news. But anyways, if you don't know what you're doing with your credit, it's not a fun time. And with car loans, it lets you have a better car. And I'm saying, like a new Toyota, new Honda, a fun car for the average person that wants to get from point A to point B, that maybe has a couple features here and there. And if you're making good money, you can buy something premium, a Volvo, Infiniti, Acura, Lexus. If you're making really good money, maybe a BMW, Mercedes, Audi, Porsche, Bentley, whatever it is. So it gives you a lot more opportunities, and it gives you access to this where otherwise you wouldn't be able to, no matter how much money you were making in Poland, unless you bought it for cash or, again, you had a business, because it's very, very difficult to get a car loan over there. However, some people do abuse it, where if you're working part-time retail, you should not be getting a used Audi or Mercedes, especially a S-Class or an A8, or especially the AMGs or S series, because at that point, any maintenance will wipe you out financially. So that's why a lot of people get into bad credit situations, because they weren't making the good money in the first place. I got into a bad credit situation because I was making good money, but I was making some foolish decisions with my investments, and I got wiped out in investments. And that was it was a major mistake. But there are some people who just decide, hey, let's take stuff out on credit, and they never were making good money, and there is no plan to pay it back, and eventually they're going to fall into bankruptcy regardless, or they're going to just trash their credit situation for the next 7.5 years, and they're probably going to continue to repeat their bad credit mistakes. So there are downsides and there's some upsides. I think that ultimately debt is a good thing if you know how to handle it. And in many cases, even if you do make mistakes, you learn as you get older, and I think it definitely does help out, because you won't be making the same mistakes anymore. Once you know what you're doing, it is easy to build credit. It's also very easy to destroy your credit, but if you don't make silly mistakes, then a $600 car payment is fine if you're making $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month. If you're making less, you probably should go for something a little bit more used. You should probably put down a larger down payment. There's a lot of stuff that we do, but we're not financial advisors in car sales. So ultimately, if someone does want to buy a Corvette and they aren't making the best of money, they can, but it's just not going to be the smartest financial decision. So anyways, I just wanted to thank you so much for watching today's video, and drive safe out there, make safe financial decisions, but also be thankful that we have so many opportunities where in other countries you'd probably be driving a 20-year-old car that is close to falling apart. If you're the average person, of course. Maybe you'd be driving a clapped out BMW. Woo! So 644 is huge. I never thought the average would be that high, but it does make sense with what I've been seeing. And it does make sense that, there's a lot of pickup trucks there out on the road that are, 96-month loan terms, and you're wondering, how the heck do these people afford it? Half of them are rich business owners that just want a truck that, first of all, it has a lot of luxury features. These are luxury vehicles if you get the higher trim levels and high packages and all that. But the other half is for show, and they don't have the money. And, the only way they can do it is by extending their loans, and maybe they don't have the best credit and they're living paycheck to paycheck just because of their massive car loan. So the weather is definitely not great. So I wanted to thank you so much for watching today's video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, and if you have, I wish you guys all the best. Take care,